Hello, I am Mike Horner, live in Savannah, Georgia, and last year I ran for Congress in Georgia's 12th District. My campaign slogan was "Awakening a Sleeping Giant," because I became very concerned at the direction our country was headed. As a retired Air Force officer, I frankly could not believe that we were slipping into socialism very quickly. When you think about it, the fact that President Obama put in this shadow government of 34 czars, just think of having czars in our government. I always thought the czars belonged in the Soviet Union. But anyhow, the other things that were happening, taking over General Motors, taking over our financial institutions, our insurance companies, etc., was not what our founding fathers intended. And the "Awakening the Sleeping Giant" comment, of course, was made by Admiral Yamamoto during World War II when they bombed Pearl Harbor, and he turned to his people and said, "I think we have awakened a sleeping giant." The same thing has happened here in America. Approximately 9 months after President Obama took office, my wife and I went up to a Tea Party event on September the 12th, 2009, along with 1.7 million other very concerned Americans, worried about their country. And this was just 9 months after President Obama was inaugurated. It was an extremely moving experience. People were marching and saying, "Can you hear us now?" Singing the song "God Bless America," and many other patriotic events. Anyhow, our country is still in a very deep ditch. Our national debt now is more than $14 trillion, which is an absolutely huge number. We need to get out of this ditch and get out of it very quickly. I have a blueprint of how I think we can get out of this ditch. And the reason I think my blueprint is different is I get very specific on how we should do this. The number one thing we have to do is we need to grow jobs. We cannot tax enough nor reduce spending enough to get out of the ditch. We have to create an extremely favorable business climate. How do you do that? Well, lower taxes and lower regulation. But I'm not talking lowering taxes. We have the highest corporate tax rate in the world right now. I'm talking zero business taxes. Zero. By implementing the fair tax, which a lot of you have heard about. Fair tax would grow our economy enormously. Our tax system now is very punitive towards business. It prohibits the growth we could be experiencing. Our government is also regulating and strangling business so that we cannot grow. The way to get our economy moving is to get people getting good jobs and spending money. Some other things we need to do immediately is pass a balanced budget amendment. Balanced does not mean reverting to 2008 or 2006 spending levels as has been proposed. Balanced means we spend no more than the income coming in. We have to do this at home. We can do it at the federal government. A lot of gloom and doom, but the Republicans scored a great victory in November of historic proportions, taking back like 63 seats in the House of Representatives and some 650 seats in state houses all across our country. And I think this is a turnaround time, and a lot of things have been proposed. But let me give you an example of what I think we should do. Besides the balanced budget amendment, we need to tackle the gorilla in the room, which is Social Security. No politician seems to want to come up with how we're going to fix this, and it can be fixed. I think it can actually be made better. The one thing we can certainly do with Social Security is privatize Social Security, and this has been studied. Privatize it for all individuals 45 years of age and younger. We also need to immediately actually establish the so-called lockbox. We have not done that yet. All income tax revenues coming in Social Security should go into a lockbox starting now. And look at the fix and put out to the American people what the fix will be and how we can achieve it. We also need to secure our borders immediately, if not sooner. This could be done very quickly, even if we have to station 100,000 troops on the border. Illegal immigration is costing our nation untold billions of dollars. Another thing we need to do is have energy independence as soon as humanly possible. I personally cannot understand why we don't have energy independence right now. We have the wherewithal to do this. In fact, the price of oil has caused our last 4 recessions and is getting ready to cause another one. Price of a barrel of oil right now is $92 and going up. They think the price at the pump may actually reach $8 a gallon. Of course, the American people would never stand for that. We also need to look at limiting nanny state retirement entitlements. This is becoming a huge, unsustainable part of our budget. You start getting into welfare, aid-dependent children, food stamps, affordable housing, SSI, etc., cannot be sustained. I propose that individuals can only stay on welfare for a maximum of 4 years. And we can help them get off of welfare with affordable adult education to give them the skills to get off of welfare. But we should no longer allow people to stay on welfare for 2 and 3 generations. The number one thing I think we should do, though, is within 1 or 2 years and not 5 or 10, is we should have a constitutional convention to correct a lot of the problems we have and take us back to what was really meant by our founding fathers and our Constitution. For example, the Second Amendment. Most people don't realize we were just within 1 vote of losing our Second Amendment rights, right to carry arms. We get one more wrong-headed judge on the Supreme Court and we could lose our Second Amendment rights. We need to clarify then with the Constitutional Convention what the Founding Fathers meant by the Second Amendment, which obviously they meant for Americans to have the unfettered right to bear arms. Some other amendments need to be looked at. The 10th Amendment is causing enormous problems in our country. The 10th Amendment never intended with the ability to regulate commerce to give the federal government tremendous power over the states. It was not intended to do that and needs to be clarified. The 14th Amendment never intended for the children of illegal immigrants to automatically become citizens. This is wrong. The 17th Amendment was amended to give so that the senators could no longer be selected by the states, but they would be elected. And what this ended up doing was giving the federal government additional power. That needs to be amended. The 22nd Amendment regarding term limits. I sincerely believe that all of our representatives, senators, congressmen, should have 2 4-year terms just like the president. We now have a really almost an oligarchy where we have representatives staying in office up there for up to 50 years. And they end up being the ruling class rather than a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. This needs to stop. They need to work for us and not rule us. The 16th Amendment, which I've alluded to before, concerns the income tax system. The 16th Amendment needs to be abolished, and we need to implement the fair tax. Our current tax system follows the principles of the communist Karl Marx rather than our founding fathers. This needs to be corrected. The good news is, if we do all of the above, we can take back our beloved America and continue the American dream for all Americans. God bless America, and thank you.